turn mine on.
Welcome to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Some people would call the Las Vegas Sin City, but it's time to get started for an amazing race for the Moonshiners Cup Series. You're going to be hearing two different voices for the 41 driver field here tonight. My name is Jonathan Leach, taking the place of Michael DeMoney. Joining me tonight is the one and only Alan Bergen. We were reviewing some of the notes from the last week. Looking forward to an excellent race with 41 drivers.
Yeah,
Alan,
John, it's a full field tonight here in Las Vegas, Sin City. Man, and am I excited to be here and with my good friend John, my friend from the north, as it were.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to an excellent race this evening. It's really awesome to be here. I have not been a part of a 41 car field yet, so I'm super excited.
Yeah. So this will definitely get, Vegas, man, Sin City. Who's gonna chance it? Who's gonna know when to hold them? Who's gonna know when to fold them? And who's gonna come out on top? As we got a star-studded field here in Las Vegas. Who's going to go all in? Who's going to show their cards early? We don't know. But nonetheless.
Well, Vegas is a fun racetrack to me because it's one of those few tracks that there are, in my opinion, multi-grooves. You got two different ways that you can run this racetrack, and we're going to see that with these 41 drivers. We're going to try to go through the top 15 in the grid here. A little bit of trouble at the beginning of this one while we were trying to get started. I'm trying to post the grid for you now, but we're having some overlay issues. I thoroughly apologize for that. It looks like that's not going to be able to work for us at this time. So as far as our top drivers, top performing drivers, you got Sean Kaltenbach, Kenny Capola, Kendall Levron, Randy Mullins, and Nick King. That's going to be your top 5 as we're going to start this event here tonight. Really looking forward to it. Should be a really fun race. And, just Las Vegas never disappoints.
No, man. And you hit the nail right on the head. There's multiple lines here. These cars are going to get loose about 15 laps into the run. And you're going to start moving around, making your way. And the other thing I want to point out too, John, they got only 6 sets of tires in the pits tonight.
That's 6 sets of tires, 200 laps. Driver number 4, Ford Mustang Sean Kaltenbach, is going to lead these drivers to the starting zone, side by side with number 77 of Kenny Capola. Race fans, it's showtime in Las Vegas under the sun. We're not under the lights tonight as we cross the start-finish line, and we are off here on March 6th on a Wednesday evening. 41 drivers, 41 opportunities for a race winner here at Las Vegas.
Sean Kaltenbach gonna bring him down into turn number 1 and down the back straightaway. Kenny Capola there, as they're on the outside, as they're 2x2 down the back straightaway and into turn 3 and 4, John.
It's a lot of 2x2 action here already. And again, we're going to see a lot of this for the first 15 to 20 laps of a run. We didn't talk about that earlier, but I want to reiterate that. Although at some point, this track does start to get spread out. But I haven't seen this racetrack with 41 cars on it. And boy, isn't this insane just looking at this full track. Looking back here at the number 91 machine of Kane Lee, that's a Ford Mustang. Started 17th. It's lap 2. He's still there. Try to focus on that machine right there. And you see that nice black and orange paint scheme. This is for 17th. We're going to be able to talk about cars all over the track. We can come all the way to the back with an 01 machine of Matt Mackin. He's in a battle locked with Chris Spear for 38th. These guys are battling back here like they were battling in the top 6.
Yeah, I don't think anybody told him it was a 200 lap race, but hey, you know, this is when you're going to be your fastest lap here, as we're focused on the back half of the field for right now. But John, the other thing I want to mention too, there is no out of bound lines, so every inch of the track is fair game.
Taking a look to see who our largest movers are. Currently, that's going to be Matt Cox, another driver of a Ford Mustang, number 32 machine. He's in 23rd now. He's up 5 positions. Just look at the gaggle of machines right here. And, this is sort of an unknown race for these guys. There was a massive iRacing update yesterday. It was a 10 gigabyte update. A lot of things have changed on the racing surface and for the game. The overall mechanics have changed slightly that I've heard. I've not raced it and I haven't experienced it, but I've seen the grumbling that a lot has changed. And so there's a little bit of an unknown for these guys. They're going to be more net code than usual. Do the cars handle a little bit differently than they did in practice? And what all has changed? Look forward to asking these drivers during this race, have they noticed any difference in the first 5 laps, or is it for the most part similar? You got cars that are going down underneath that line right there. That's Barry Sanders. We saw him go down below the white line, currently in 16th, driver number 88. Barry Sanders, of course, head admin here for the Moonshiners Cup Series. Does an excellent job, and you could say that for sure with this 41 car turnout.
Yeah, 41 cars. And John, I also want to point out too that it took, there's a lot of leagues that didn't even get to run last night. And, but nonetheless, this 41 car field here, as we're watching some of these guys, they're trying to mind their P's and Q's, is what I'm pointing out there. I think they think it's slower. And one of the new mechanics in the update yesterday is the racing line will change too, as they run more laps. So if they run more laps on the bottom, the racing line may get slicker down there, and they might have to run to the outside.
Wow, that's gonna just create an excellent difference here in the iRacing brand. I'm excited to try it out the next couple nights myself. I don't do a lot of racing, but it's always cool to try something different when it's going to change, and these drivers are trying to sort it out too. You got a lot of 2x2 racing. You got the 24 machine, that's Nick King. So the top 5 are pretty spread out. The top 2, one are, separated by, a bumper and a half. And you get back here to around the 8th place position. You got Aaron Matthews and Andrew St. Coeur. That's a battle for 8th right now.
Battle for 8th it is. But, and here's the thing, John, is, as we get back here to that 24 car, and back to the front there and watching these guys, it looks like the leaders are, starting to separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
I'm sorry, yeah, you're not wrong about that. The top 6 have about a second gap from the rest of the field. Shane Davis is kind of in the middle of it, the number 7 machine. Then the rest of the guys are a little further back. So the top 6 are running about 0.2 faster than the rest of the field. The rest of the field average is about a 30.3, and the front guys are running in the 30.1s and 2s. And so it's a little bit of a different, quite the different speed that the front guys are running as opposed to the rear guys.
Yeah, for sure here. And we're working lap.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. You see a little smoke back there in the back of that gaggle of machines. That's somewhere around the 23rd, 24th position. Kane Lee's back there, Justin Belmont. But I wanted to mention those top guys aren't battling, they're not battling the same amount of turbulence that these cars in the rear are doing. They've got turbulence from 20 cars in front of them, and that's all filtering down to the track. The 91 machine, Kane Lee, just kissed the wall right there, which you gotta recognize that don't happen if you kind of drive in deep here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's the thing too, John, is you could almost on this little mile and a half, is you could almost run the car deeper into the corner. And as we had a chance to drive these next-gen cars last week, granted we were on a 2 mile, a mile and a half or 2 mile super speedway, But these cars do hit up pretty loose in a pack. So we got a couple cars going 3 wide back here. On lap
So,
number 12.
so it's worth mentioning the whole field, first to 40th, is separated by 7 seconds. So running up in the rear is number 69 machine. That's Jared Clark. He's 12. Excuse me. He is 9 seconds now off the lead. Sean Kaltenbach is the leader. Under siege from Kenny Capola. Driver started second. Kenny's looking to the inside now, trying to get a run down the backstretch. Can he get it done in turn number 3? Doesn't quite look like it. He tucks back in beside him. They're running 2 different lines. Kenny Capola is running about a groove below Sean Kaltenbach, but I think that's just because he's trying to make a pass, and he's almost got that right front on that left rear. Now he has it side by side. This is the best position we've seen since they've started this fight. Side by side into one.
Side by side, right you are. So here's the other thing too, is you see they kind of do the Indy snake as they come down the back straightaway there, John, as they get spread out. And we are stage racing tonight, so don't forget that also.
Stage racing and caution racing. I'm showing Blaine Woodruff might have had some trouble here. Driver number 71. Trying to see what happened. He's in that pink machine. Looks like a Monster Energy machine. Gets down that white line. Gets kind of loose. And he's going to collect a car. Number 13 of Johnny Shade. Just kind of in a bad spot. Wrong place, wrong time. Let's watch that one more time to see if we can figure out what really happened to Blaine Woodruff here. Might have to back that up one more time. So he's in turns 3 and 4. He's underneath that number 91. He gets loose, and he's trying to catch the car, hits that apron, and it's kind of weird machine how it kind of cocks back to the right there. Let's go on the onboard with him, and then Alan, I want you to dial somebody up to talk with. So he's getting loose. He's fighting the rear tire. Yeah, he was definitely still trying to catch the car, and unfortunately, Johnny Shade was just right there with nowhere to go.
Well, all right, we are going to dial up Mr. Chad Sullivan here of Speedway Racing. Chad, this is John and Alan in the SRM booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
How's it going, Chad? When you won in Atlanta and running for...
We're losing you, Alan. But anyway, Chad, so he's saying you won in Atlanta. He's asking how you're feeling out there. And the real important thing that I think we all want to know is what is different after the massive update yesterday. Have you been able to notice anything in these 17 laps?
Yeah, car seems to be quite a bit looser, so there's some guys struggling right now. You see some rear ends just flying all over the place, so we're just trying to keep the right rear on her.
Yeah, but that's what brought out this caution. We saw a driver get loose and then ended up collecting another car on the track. He tried to catch it, but it definitely seems like it's a loose feel out there. So I guess this run's kind of just a mystery for everybody at this point.
Yeah, it sure is. So I'm just trying to fill it out and try to stay out of trouble and try to work my way back to the front.
All right, well, while we have you, is there anyone you'd like to mention, any sponsors, friends, or family before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Reaper Speed Labs and Hurt Locker and all the guys that make this possible.
All right, well, Chad, good luck to you. Hopefully we'll be talking to you as you slowly work yourself through the field.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, so that was Chad Sullivan. Alan, thanks for dialing him up. These guys are going to get them stacked back up. Pace lights are out. Sean Kaltenbach, Kenny Capola, Kendall Everin, Randy Mullins, Jeff Taylor. 5 guys up front. Kendall Leveron's up 1 position. Jeff Taylor's up 3. You also got Nick King, and started 6, still a 6. Shane Davis down a couple spots. Aaron Matthews, Warren Young, and Andrew St. Coeur, I believe is how you pronounce it. I think that's French, in the top 10. Biggest mover so far, still Justin Belmonte. He's up 12 positions in the number 6 machine as the field is coming through turn number 3. Alan sounds like Alan's still having some connection issues, so you're gonna stay with me while he's gonna try to sort that out. Might be just a quick reset and he'll be good to go. As Tony Trapasso would say, as the pace car turns down, Grandma, grab your popcorn. If you can stand, you better be standing, because race fans, it's back to showtime as Sean Kaltenbach's going to take a 2-car gap over Kenny Capola to restart the race here on lap 19 of 200. Single file to the battle for 5th, and that's a battle between Jeff Taylor and Nick King. You got a Toyota and a Chevrolet. The Chevrolet, obviously, the 24 machine, and the 23 is the Toyota. Side by side is the rest of the field right behind them. So that caution right there was brought out due to Blaine Woodruff, number 71, that pink Monster Energy machine. He got loose, couldn't save the car. And now after that, we were speaking with Chad Sullivan, and he said that the car is much looser than we were used to, as we've got 3-wide racing. It's just been sorted out. And there's some more 3-wide racing right here in the back. I think we're going to go ahead and assume John Binder's involved. Matt Mackin was involved with that. But Chad Sullivan was telling us, race fans, that the car is significantly looser than anticipated. We got 3-wide racing as a 33 of John Binder is going to try to make it 3-wide on the 83. Tim Mortman Jr., who's got a good run and separates that right there. As well as you got Ed Boyles Jr., Johnny Shades back involved in this mix. We know he was involved in the first caution just a second ago. It was just a quick moment here. So worth noting that the best lap time of the race was set by Sean Kaltenbach, 29 correction. Kendall Levron set a 29.85 second lap. The fall-off has been about half a second here on lap 22. It's worth noting that a loose race car is a fast race car, but it can be a handful. Justin Belmonte has increased his position 5 more. He's now up 17 positions. I want to thank people that are rooting for everyone in this race. Kyle Holden, driver number 59, Ford Mustang, has some fans that are watching the race. Tracy Holden says, "Go Kyle," number 59. He's in the 15th position. He's down 5 spots since the start of this one. But again, it's worth noting that these drivers are battling something different. Right behind him, we've got Barry Sanders. And this is close proximity racing at its finest. 40 drivers started this race. There are still 40 drivers in the field. And look at that, Kyle Holden right on the back bumper of that number 1 machine of Andrew St. Coeur. This is around the 14th place position right now. Just doing a pretty good job. Everybody hanging out. A little bit of smoke right there. Someone might have been into the wall. Take our attention back up to the front. Kenny Capola stepping away by about 0.3 of a second. We're going to take a moment to take our first break of the evening. We'll be right back for more green flag racing for the Moonshiners Racing Cup Series. I want to thank all the sponsors that allow Moonshiners to be an outstanding league and affordable. Especially want to thank Ram Welding and Fabrication out of Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, for sponsoring this 300-mile event. We'll be right back. Back with you at Las Vegas, where not much has changed. Kenny Coppola still the race leader. Kendall Leverin has, however, moved himself up to the second place position. Drivers still out on track, racing along here. It's kind of worth mentioning that Sean Kaltenbach, and I said not much has changed, and I have misspoken. Sean Kaltenbach has dropped all the way to the 13th place position. I'm not exactly sure what caused that to happen. I'm going to try to figure it out. Also, while we were away, I'm showing something happened to Jamison Middlemiss, which is the driver of the number 16 machine. Gonna see what incident that this driver had. I'm assuming, oh, he got some trouble in front of him. He's going to end up clipping the back of a machine, hits the inside wall abruptly, and we stay green because he was off the racing surface. Alan, you got one heck of a gaggle of machines back here around the 20th position. And so just, you know, might just be a race of attrition where you just can't get away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, you know, it's look, John, it's going to be survival. Here in the back, when
so Kenny Coppola's checking out the battles for second. Still side by side in the turn 3, make that one in front of the other as Shane Davis is going to try to hang on to it, but here comes the number 5 machine of Aaron Matthews down the front stretch with the big run. He's going to give Kendall Leverin the shove, but don't look now, here's Randy Mullins in the 54 Chevrolet. He was looking to go to the high side around Aaron Matthews, thinks better of it, but now he's under siege by the 11 of Paul Gallimore.
salt. And we got a wreck. We got a caution.
We have a huge wreck. That's a problem when you have 40 cars in the field and one thing goes wrong. The whole field is involved in this one. We're going to have to see how it unfolded, but that is a huge wreck. That's collected 15 to 20 machines this time around. Wow, what an incident. I'm showing too many people to call being involved in this one. Let's take a look one more time. I think it starts up front with Kendall. Excuse me, with the with Kendall Leveron, the driver number 28. You can see right there a little contact by the two drivers battling for a second, and they get stuck on track. Blown motors, nowhere to go. Everybody just can brake and hope, and just the whole top 15 from second to the 17th or so involved in that one. Kendall Leverin's down pit road, Shane Davis down pit road, Steven Gibson, Daryl Mullins, Jeff Naylor, a whole slew of cars coming down pit road after that contact. Alan, I want you to go ahead and let's go ahead and dial somebody up. Perhaps maybe our race leader, Kenny Coppola, if he's available, driver number 77 Toyota. He's been the top 2 for most of the race. I'm curious to know what he thinks of the field as we're observing these pit stops.
All right, and we will make that happen. Oh, here he is.
While Alan's working on dialing him up, watching drivers come out of pit road right here. Jared Clark, Darren Mills. Go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Kenny, this is Alan and John in the SRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kenny, so, you know, we had a massive update yesterday. What's the car feel like now, even though you're out front with the update?
It feels terrible. I'm so tight right now in 3 and 4. There's not much grip there. I'm doing the best I can to get through. A 1 and 2 feels all right. I don't know. I think the gearing is so low. The RPM is so low. It's burning the right front end because we're actually carrying more speed into the corners than we were before. Running higher RPM when you let off throttle, it slows the car down a lot more at higher RPM.
So do you
So
think
we're
this?
out.
Go ahead.
So we're out here really pushing into the corners a lot faster than we have been.
Do you think this is just a bad setup situation with the update, and it's something that's going to get sorted out as time goes, or do you think this is just going to be how the next gen car drives?
I mean, honestly, I came in tonight thinking we were going to be sitting here draft locked for 40 laps with this really low RPM in these cars, and it actually spread out pretty quickly. I think people are going to start having handling issues 15 laps into runs now. And I spent about an hour and a half making some tweaks on the car after the update and loosened it up a bit. If I really sat down and put some laps in, probably get the car feeling a lot like it was before the update.
Gotcha. Well, Kenny, you're up front right now. We wish you the best for the rest of the race after that caution. You were in front of it, so you avoided it. Is there anyone you want to mention before we send you on back?
Yeah, that was my teammate. Sucks he probably done for the night, but just want to thank my sponsors, Boomer Button Boxes, Martin Sports, Team Watson Racing, Warrior Racing, and you guys for putting the show on for us.
All right. Well, we appreciate the time, Kenny. Good luck to you for the rest of the race. Maybe we'll be talking to you at the end.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, so the field's going to get stacked back up here. Kenny Capola, Aaron Matthews, Randy Mullins, Alex Coffey. It's a name that's kind of familiar to me. Nick King, Paul Gallimore, Chris Davis, and Warren Young, Kyle Holden, Andrew Sancour are going to be your top 10. Biggest mover now is Tim Wortman Jr., driver of the 83 Chevrolet. I think that's going to change a little bit as things tend to happen. It's showing 32 drivers on the lead lap now. Justin Belmont taking a rough impact on that last caution. Was our biggest mover. Now he's marred one lap down. So we're going to get him racked up, get stacked up again here. Lap 40 of 200, Allen. And, this race is going rather quickly. And interesting to hear about the low RPMs that these drivers are battling. Is that pace car is going to turn off. They're going to try to rev these low revving engines and get rolling. As here comes Kenny Capola to the start finish line. Very tame restart for the top 5. Not so tame in the middle of the pack as we just saw 4 wide for a brief second, Alan.
Yeah, 3-4 wide, and this is the racing that we're used to here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They thunder down the back straightaway as we got drivers making evasive motions to try to get jockeyed for position right now. And we're looking at Derek Pemberton, that number 82 car, as he is on the inside of the 21 of Chad Sullivan. They head down into turn number 1, and this is a battle for what would be 14th position.
Yeah, 14th position indeed. As this race, it's worth noting here in 3 laps is going to be stage number 1. We'll have another stage at lap number 90. So stage 1 coming up in a couple laps here. Everybody getting as much positions as they possibly can to get those ever important stage points, Alan. And this is going to be kind of like a midway break, I might say, for these drivers. But this race has been intense with the 40 cars on the racing surface, and they're sort of separated, but they're still significantly or extremely close together where they're affecting all these cars. You don't really get a break when you're 2 and 3 wide all race long.
No, you don't. As looks like we got the 17 car of Nigel Christensen, and that's what I was talking about earlier. You're using all of the racetrack, every inch of it, to try to get the best wide arc going into the corner. 'Cause we got cars diving down to the inside to bail out. We were 3 wide there briefly. We got some cars there going to the outside, inside, but mostly outside.
All right, expecting the stage caution to come out any moment now. Still up front, Kenny Capola, Alex Coffey. They're trying to battle right here. This is 3 drivers for that top spot. Capola, Coffey, Matthews. Randy Mullins is there. Coffey coming to the line side by side with Capola. And excuse me, he has the advantage on Capola now. Going to cross the start-finish line. That's going to bring out lap number 46. There it is, stage number 1. Alex Coffey, driver number 15, Toyota, stage 1 winner. It's going to beat Kenny Capola by about a quarter of a second. Randy Mullins is third. Aaron Matthews fourth. Kyle Holden finishes stage 1 fifth. Allen go on with sixth.
Okay, P6 in the stage is Derek Pemberton. Number 7, P7 in the stage is Nick King. Tim Wortman Jr. finishes 8th in stage 1. Warren Young finishes 9th, and rounding out your top 10 in the stage is Paul Gallimore.
All right, so Paul Gallimore, stage 1's complete. This can be the 3rd time the caution flag flies. This one, however, was planned. So I expect drivers to come down pit road, do a reset, and we'll see how they're feeling. As soon as the reset's over here, as far as the pit stop goes, we're going to try to dial up number 15, Alex Coffey, but we're going to let this guy get down onto pit road. We don't want to influence his pit stop. It's very common that when we pull these guys in early while they're trying to pit, we can influence the pit stop, and it can cause trouble. So it's worth mentioning that Barry Sanders is on pit road in a damaged race car already. Justin Belmont in an extremely damaged race car. Blaine Woodruff has damage. You know, it went Blaine Wilson, Kendall Levron, Shane Davis, some front runners earlier out of this race early. Derek Pemberton looks like he's going to be staying out. He's going to trap some cars a lap down.
Yeah, he is there. As we got wholesale pit stuff going on right now. Derek Pemberton, I wonder, John, if that's like a strategy call, or maybe hey, I'm not the best car, but I'd like to get here and lead some laps, maybe.
Well, he pitted on lap 37 under the last caution, so his tires aren't that old. And if you're battling in a really loose race car, perhaps when they keep these old tires on there, it tightens it up a little bit, and he might do better for the beginning of the run. But I mean, sometimes it's nice to just get out there and pick up some stage points for this one. And it's worth noting that there very well could be additional points here. I'd have to double check their league rules, which I can't remember at the moment from my quick scan on it. But we'll check them here in just a brief moment and be able to let drivers know what you get out of this. Stage winner gets 10 points and 1 playoff point. Second's 9. Third is 8th. The race winner earns 5 playoff points. It's as well. I don't see any points for leading a lap as I skim through here. Alan, if you go ahead and dial up Alex Coffey, stage 1 winner.
You ask and you shall receive. Alex Coffey, this is Alan and John in the SRM booth. How is it going?
Going pretty good.
Well, first off, congratulations on the stage 1 victory today. So how's the car feel to you right now?
It's definitely looser than the officials this week, but if we can just keep the tires under us for a longer run, I think we'll have a pretty quick one today.
Yeah, so we're under the 3rd caution of the night, 1 for 9 cause. So, first off, like I said, congratulations on the stage win. And 2, what's your strategy going forward for the rest of the race? You going to try to keep it out front, or are you going to let the race kind of come to you?
Pretty much let it come to us. I'm trying to, hoping for a long run here. I don't think I have very good fire off speed, but seems to be seems to be pretty good on a long run. So we'll just hope that we end on a long run, or at least get one to put us up front there at the end.
And before we cut you loose and get back lined up, is there anybody that you would like to mention before we cut you loose?
Yeah, shout out to my teammates Nigel Christensen, Johnny Shade, and Blaine Wilson. Shout out to Reaper Speed Labs, and shout out to Carpy's Print Company, and my mom for watching.
All right, Alex. Well, congratulations on the stage win, and hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end of this piece.
Yes, sir. I hope so too.
All right, that was Alex Coffee John. As we are getting doubled up behind the iRacing.com pace car and getting ready to go back to Green Flag Racing here.
Want to mention Stage 1 brought to you by Ram Welding and Fabrication, Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. Thank you for sponsoring this Ram Welding and Fabrication 300-mile race here at Las Vegas. I like how they've got the dice on there, rolling the dice, maybe get a handful of aces here at Vegas and walk away victorious tonight. It's going to be a tall challenge. Still 33 drivers on the lead lap. 150 laps to go. Race time has been about 34 minutes. Drivers now side by side once again, getting ready to be back under green. Those of you that are listening to us, thank you for being here. Let us know who you're rooting for. What do you think of the most recent update on iRacing? If you're a driver, I'm curious to know what you guys are thinking. And what's your favorite part about this Moonshiners Racing Cup Series? I know mine is the large fields and the great racing. Go ahead, Alan.
Mine's the great racing, but here we are. Eric Pemberton on the point as the iRacing.com makes the left-hand turn on the pit road. Derek Pemberton on the button here. Here we go. Geico restart zone, and we are down and away. Eric Pemberton going to get a good jump on the 69 car and the 12 car of Chris James and Jared Clark.
So that's what those tires with those warmer tires are due for you right there. They're not so worn out that they're going to spin, but they're not cold. And so they accelerate awfully strong. And perhaps that's something with the new iRacing update that's been incorporated. You got 4-wide racing there a little bit back in the area around Alex Coffey and Kenny Capola. Fresh tires trying to get through the field as quickly as possible. You know, when you're 15th and you were used to being up front, it gets a little bit more squirrely back there. You're following Ed Boyles Jr., the driver number 38. Let's go on board with him as he tries to navigate from 16th on through the field. Just to the inside of him, we've got the 21 Ford Mustang of Chad Sullivan down the backstretch now.
Yeah, Chad Sullivan. We're riding with Ed Boyles Jr. there on the outside. He's working the outside, and you could almost hold it wide open around the outside on fresh tires, John. And, you know, it's almost worth mentioning, too, that, you know, as like I said before, as the run goes on, I haven't been out on the track with the new update yet. I've only been commentating races with the new update. So I'm personally excited to get out on the track and see what this update's all about.
We're getting a good look at the field right here, 2x2 for a majority of the field, a couple single cars, and in some cases when passes are being made, even as far back as 24th, we're seeing up to 3-wide racing. Drivers separated by about 4 seconds from first on back to 33rd, and of course you've got a couple cars a lap down, Blaine Woodruff, Carmichael, Jamison Middle Miss, Matt Mackin, other drivers like Kendall Everin, Shane Davis, just on pit road, trying to get repaired and get as many points as they can.
Yeah, so, and here's what I like to point out too. In stage racing and in leagues where you got the chase, every point matters. I don't care if you get max points or minimum points, every point matters. Because if you don't make the playoffs, you could be like, well, if I only ran better at Las Vegas or if I only ran better at Daytona, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, you know, something that's so unique about this iRacing league is most iRacing leagues have maybe 22, 23 drivers. You're competing with 40 other individuals week in and week out. There's a good chance that you won't get into the playoffs. In some leagues, it's almost a shoo-in that you will make the playoffs. But in this case, not so much. So you really do need to try to get the best position you can. And if you're a driver that ends up out of the race, you have to sit around and wait and try to pick up that extra position, because these races are battles of attrition. You might have gone out lap 20, so a couple more drivers go out on lap 30, 40, they quit. You get those 20 laps, now you've picked up 5, 6, 7 points in the playoff hunt. I mean, a bad race, but you still picked up points and prevented it from being as bad as it could have been. And that's worth noting whenever you're in a big field like this. So 16 of these 40 guys are going to make the playoffs. You know, this is, again, a 40-car field. That's incredible.
Yeah, not only are you racing your point, you got a points race all the way up until it's time for the playoffs, and then it's go time, right? So, kind of like in a race, everybody's thinking big picture, right? So we're not going to make too aggressive moves too quickly. We're going to kind of feel things out, get used to our competitors, because I tell you what, if you burn your bridges now, whenever you need them the most, they may not be there for you.
That's very true. I was trying to put up the current points on screen right now. I'm a little bit questionable about the points that I'm seeing on here, as we're not so many races. We're not very many races in. We're going to put these up. These are what I'm showing right now for points. I'm showing Alex Coffey is up front in the point standing with 90. Followed closely behind by Brandon Bakey. And I don't see Brandon Bakey in this race right now. So it's worth noting that that driver is likely to fall back here after Las Vegas.
Yeah, and the other thing too I want to point out is, like you said earlier, like if you drop out, run, like 40 laps, basically start and park, right? That could have huge point implications later down the road, and I will stress that to the absolute max.
On board Kyle Holden right now as Alan said, as we lost Alan for a brief moment. So Kyle Holden, driver number 59, he's moved himself up to 12th. You can really hear the tire scrubbing on that Ford Mustang of his on lap number 62.
Nonetheless, it looks like Kyle Holden up there is up 14 positions from where he started. He's riding around 12th position, kind of letting the race come to him and waiting it out, see what he's got. And that's what I like about stage racing, is you don't really have to rush it. You can do a little big picture racing if you basically take in what the car gives you and then see what we can do with it afterwards.
Well, especially with this new update, as you really just don't know how the car is going to behave. And again, I thought it was interesting that they said that it's lower RPM and it's just eating the right rear tire off, and that's creating that slide effect that we're seeing out of these guys. What a great view right there, the sun bouncing off the reflection of the sun bouncing off the windshields of these cars going into turn number 3.
Turn number 3, Tim Wortman Jr. there, and the 83 car that we're being shown. And like you said, John, man, it almost blinds you. Imagine what these guys are going through in the car right now. We're almost being blinded with the reflection of the sun off of the car, but nonetheless, like I said, I'm super excited. And there's a lot of unknowns, so that's the variable that we're watching tonight, right along with the update. Is how the car handles. So I think they slowed the cars down a little bit, and now we're seeing that.
And so I guess it's just to be determined if it's the update itself or if there were different setups that were released. It sounds like these drivers had the opportunity kind of to tweak things a little bit on their cars. Darren Mullins is now the biggest mover tonight. He's up 27 positions in the 64 Chevrolet. He's currently running 6th.
Darren Mullins, man.
Move on back here to the 13th, 14th area where things are staying interesting. drivers that can't get away from each other. Tim Wortman Jr., Chad Sullivan, Kane Lee, Nigel Christensen, Paul Gallimore. These guys have been around each other all night long. As you notice, Tim Wortman Jr. is up 23 spots, Sullivan's up 18, Nigel Christensen is up 20. So these three drivers, including Derek Pemberton, have been around each other all night long. Can't seem to get away from each other.
No, and sometimes that's either a good thing or a bad thing as you're riding around the racetrack. Nigel Christensen there in that 17 car. Looks like it almost looks like he's paying homage to Darrell Waltrip there.
Battle for 20th right there.
Johnny Shea, Ed Boyles Jr. here. And he just can't quite get to his door, John. That, you know, number 13, Johnny Shea in that Toyota there. Just can't quite get to the door.
I'm going to go further on back in the field. Check on Barry Sanders, 88 Ford Mustang. Involved in some trouble early, trying to hang on to 27th. He is on the lead lap, and that's worth noting. He pitted early under the stage to try to repair some damage and just kind of hanging on to a slightly slower race car. The car's about 8/10 slower than the leaders, and so the damage is definitely affecting him, but hanging in there. If he's still on the race, he can still score some points. Want to thank everybody that's watching us tonight. Thank you for being a part of this show. These drivers really appreciate it. We appreciate you spending your Wednesday evening with us. It's now about 9 Eastern on the East Coast. As we got a driver number 16 machine coming down pit road. That is Jamison Middlemiss. He is a lap down. Not down pit road. He just went down under the racing surface, and I'm not really quite sure what the problem is, but Randy Mullins now out front over Kenny Capola by 0.3 of a second. Worth noting, Capola has been making up some ground, as well as Alex Coffey, since the end of stage number 1.
Yeah, so, you know, in these long races, you're going to have some comers and you're going to have some goers. So you're going to have people, you know,
all right, so we got trouble.
Whoa.
Right there. Coffey's going to bounce off of the number 77 of Capola. Coffey down sideways on the inside. Yeah, it didn't. I thought it would have stayed green, but it did not stay green on the infield there. Caution came out for that one. I'm going to assume that's an iRacing caution right there. How did this happen with Coffey and Capola? Or no, Coffey in the 32, not Capola. I am very sorry. That was my mistake. That was Matt Cox. Matt L. Cox in the 32 Ford machine that he had that problem with. And I just really don't know how that happened. Coffey coming up to him right there in the corner. That looks like netcode to me.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, John, is how is netcode going to affect these cars? So you got to remember, last night when this update happened, or yesterday when this update happened, it wreaked havoc on a lot of computers, on a lot of PCs. So that's also going to come into effect too.
Netcode to me. I can't get the perfect angle on it. Looks like a netcode incident to me here for Alex Coffey. Is going to claim him, move him from 3rd all the way back to 29th. You know, that's a tough break for the stage 1 winner. He still has 17 laps here. Excuse me, 126 laps to get this race sorted back out in his favor. Top 10 drivers stay out. Everyone behind them comes down pit road.
Hey, Alex Coffey's still got a lot of time. Don't fret, my friend. I think he'll be there at the end.
Well, we'll see how the race goes. It's a Sin City. Every time you gotta kind of roll the dice to be up there and have a shot at it, especially in a 40-car field. Most of the drivers are still on the racing surface. So that'll be the 5th time the yellow flag waves tonight. We're not quite halfway as of yet.
We're getting there, though.
We are getting there. Race fans, we're waiting on, want to hear from you guys. Who do you want us to interview next? I'm going to eye Darren Mullins, number 64. He's up 28 positions, Alan.
We can go get him right there. I'll let you talk to him.
Hello?
Darren Mullins, Jonathan Allen in the broadcast booth. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Well, we're enjoying a real run right here out in Las Vegas. 40 drivers. These cars seem to be a handful for you guys, maybe unexpectedly after the update. What's the racing surface feel like out there?
It's not too bad. I see a lot of loose race cars out here for sure. That update got everybody chasing a little bit. But for me, the car's not too bad. It's pretty stable.
All right, so if you're our biggest mover currently, you're up 28 positions, 4 more, and you're in the lead. What's it going to take to get there?
I'm gonna have to be patient. Starting that 3rd stage, that's when it really starts the race. So I'll be patient going into that 3rd stage and try to keep this top 5, 7 into that last pit stop, and then go from there.
All right, Darren. Well, thanks for the time. Good luck for the rest of the event. Anyone you'd like to mention before we send you back to your team?
Yeah, big shout out to Ram Welding and Fabrication. Got to thank them for their support.
Absolutely. They're doing a great job. Great graphic that was made. And good luck to you. We'll talk to you.
All right, thanks, guys.
You almost did it, John.
Oh, I did do it. I said it.
You said it.
You know what? I think it's just the roughness of your skills rubbing off on me. That's all it is.
Well, I told someone today that their math wasn't mathing, and that we're doing St. Louis math. So, nonetheless, Randy Mullins in that 54 car, he is going to be on the inside of the front row as the iRacing.com pace car gets the field doubled up behind them, and the lights are appearing to be out now.
We're going to take a second while the lights are out. These are the current points. Alex Coffey up front, starting with 90 points today. Brandon Beck, who's not here. Paul Gallimore, Matt Cox, who was just involved with the incident with Alex Coffey. Barry Sanders, Hunter Carmichael is your top 6. You know, the top 10 separated 90 to 56 points. That's a pretty big gap. It shows you right there that Alex Coffey is no stranger to bonus points as this series goes on. And he picked up a couple with winning stage 1, which is going to bode him well now that he is much further back in the field in 27th. He's got a long way to go, but he's got time to do it. You know, guy that to really watch out for is Kenny Capola, who just hangs around up front. Started second, still is second, getting ready for the restart.
Yeah, the iRacing.com pace car is getting ready to make the left-handed turn on the pit road. Randy Mullins, Kenny Capola is going to lead this field back down to green flag racing. And we are green through the Geico restart zone. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Randy Mullins is going to move to the high side to block the Kenny Capola's lane right there. He's got a big push from the 23 of Jeff Taylor. Kyle Holden's also in that group right now as Nick King of the 24 Chevrolet holds the low line. Capola's going to move down in front of him. It's been a sort of drafty, I feel like, but the racetrack's just not big enough for the draft to be a huge aspect. Side by side, second on back as Nick King is on the inside of Aaron Matthews. You got the 54 just behind, 64 of Mullins. We just spoke with him. Up 26 positions, running 7th. Said he was going to be patient. He's given up a couple spots already. See Nick King right there kind of slip up the racetrack, get a little bit loose. He's going to be able to gather it up. No problem.
Darren Mullins, look, he's running a good race. But we're looking at Nigel Christensen and that number 17 car. He's on the outside. He's got really nowhere to go. As it looks like Sean Coltenbach is going to try to get a little bit of side draft going on there.
Coltenbach was today's pole sitter. He's back in 14th. He fell back earlier. Not sure what caused him to fall back. Been slowly trying to work his way back through the field. It's kind of been a methodical drive for him to get back up here. And I imagine, just like Mullins mentioned, he's just got to be patient. You can't force your way through this field when they're 2 and 3 wide around you. You've got a good, fast race car. You just got to kind of slowly work through the field and take what these guys give to you, as he's picking up a couple spots since we've started talking about him.
Well, I think, John, you might have reversed the announcer's curse here in that 4 car, but he's getting ready to take. Whoa, the 24 car gets loose.
Another big wreck right here, collecting 10 plus machines. Nick King kind of was the funnel of all that in that 24 machine. As Alan just said, whoa, the 24 got loose. What just happened right there? And look at that, Sean Coltenbach's involved.
Tough break for all those cars, and buddy, we're with my.
So let's see what happened to Nick King right here. He does. He gets loose. Turbulent air around him. He's going to get a bump from the 23. He's going to go round. Collect a couple cars right there. And then other cars that got backed up on track ended up getting involved. Alex Coffey, another one, almost gets clocked right there. John Coltenbach involved. Let's see what he sees here. Sees Nick King up there. Should see him get turned any second. There he is. And wow, there's no time to react on the brakes. Hoping gets hit from behind. Wow. Another big wreck. A lot of drivers coming down pit road. Kenny Capola is going to take over the race lead. That one tore up a bunch of race cars right there. That was about a 10 or 12 car wreck.
You know, it's also worth mentioning too, John, also, is whenever the 24 car got loose, everybody had to check up. And, you know, Sean Coltenbach just had nowhere to go. Yep, barely had time to react.
And nowhere to go. Pace lights still going on. I think this is going to be a couple laps here before this one gets taken care of. We're going to step away for a few moments. On lap 82 of 200, more racing to come.
And welcome back to the Moonshiners Racing League here, as we are getting ready to restart here on lap number 83, going lap 84. Kenny Capola is on the front row. Kyle Holden to his outside as the iRacing.com pace car makes the left-hand turn on the pit road. And we are getting to the Geico restart zone. 3, 2, 1, and we are green, 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 as Kenny Capola heads down to turn number 1 with Randy Mullins right behind him. Kenny Capola, Randy Mullins, and Kyle Holden is your top 3 right now as they thunder down the back straightaway. Everybody else is 2 by 2 by 2. So here we go. And this is going to get good here as we are working lap number 85 of 200. We're almost to halfway. And we got a car using almost all the racetrack there. Kenny Capola finally getting out to a sizable lead. Got Randy Mullins right behind him. And we got a big wreck. We have a big wreck, and I believe that's going to put us under caution. 2 cars involved in that one. As we are under caution once again here on lap 87, and it looks like there's a couple cars involved. I don't remember who was involved. Here it looks like we have a replay, I believe, and it looks like Paul Whitney gets into the wall and he collects another car. Couldn't see who that was that he collected. Man, there's a car. But nonetheless, we're going to do pit stops here. As we're going to start wholesale pit stops here. Chad Sullivan running 6th position here on lap 88. Darren Mullins going to come in, and that's going to give him the race lead. As a lot of these guys pitted lap 81, Darren Mullins pitted lap 81. Kenny Capola is now in the pits right now. As these guys are going to get some fresh Goodyear tires and a fresh tank of Sunoco race fuel. And it looks like Kyle Holden might win the race off of pit road. Here as we get ready to get lined back up behind the iRacing.com pace car. Ryan Huff in that beautiful number 93 car. Here comes you got Aaron Mullins there in that number 5 car. So with Darren Mullins taking us over the race lead, going to move him up 38 positions from where he started. Right there. So he started 39th in the field here. So we got some guys in the YouTube.com chat. Got some coffee fans. Guys reading Eric or Alex Coffee. Kyle in the number 59 car. Fans, got some beast mode performance fans. There's we getting a good look at that 11 car Paul Gallimore. As we almost getting ready to get lined back up behind that iRacing.com pace car, as Nick King will be on the outside of Darren Mullins when we come back to Green Flag Racing. And it looks like we got the 77 car, or no, wait, that's the 54 car. Darren Mullins there. Looks like we got a couple wave around cars. Hope everybody is having a good time tonight while watching this race here. this 300 miler from Los. So we got the number 2 car. That's Darren Mills in that number 2 car. Purple and yellow car. Randy Mullen in that Ram Welding number 54 Chevrolet. See, it's going to line up on the outside of row number 2. Kyle Holden's going to line up on the inside of row number 3 there. So we're going to re-rack them and restack them as we get ready to go back to green flag racing here. We are working lap number 89. When we come back to green, it's going to be lap 90. So we're just under halfway here in this one. As the iRacing.com pace car comes out of turn number 1 here. Or turn 2, rather. Tell you what, I would get sunburned if I was out there right now watching this race. The lights are extinguished as we are working down the back straightaway. Nick King is going to be on the iRacing.com pace car is getting ready. As we're going to take a look, Boyles Jr. there on the outside there in row number 4. Nonetheless, Darren Mullins is down and away in the Geico restart zone. And it looks like the 21 car had to helmet. Here we go. This is an absolute dogfight to the end of the stage. We're back there watching Paul Gallimore work his way up through the field. He's almost like a surgeon trying to get through the field methodically. As looks like we got some guys going high, going low, going everywhere, trying to get the car. A little bit. We got some a little bit. Darren Mills in that 2 car is almost trying to get back up there. We got cars getting ready to go 3 wide here. We got a pretty good battle shaping up here as the Mullen brothers are running 5 and 6 right now.
And so as we just came across lap number 93, Kenny Capola, who's been in the top 2, is still up there. Kyle Holden, you know, he's got fans in the chat. He's been working his way. We've seen him back as far as 14th, now running P2. Aaron Matthews right behind him. Darren Mullins still hovering in that 6th place position. And the Randy Mullins machine, who's been up front for most of this race, still in your top 5. It's worth mentioning 30 drivers on the lead lap. Matt Cox is the final driver on the lead lap with a lot of damage to that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, indeed. I'll tell you right now, John, these guys are almost certainly like surgeon precision as these guys are trying to figure out this track right now because, you know, things aren't what they used to be 48 hours ago.
No, the track is the track, the racing style, or the way the cars race is a little bit different. Want to apologize for the mic issues if we're not really sure what's happening on Alan's side. I don't know what's causing his issues. We're doing the best we can to mitigate it. It seems to be a here and there, not a consistent problem. But back to the race right here. Kyle Holden's trying to hold off 2 drivers right here. Nick King has found his way back to 3rd already. I'm not really sure how he did it. That car was sideways not so long ago and involved in a hellacious incident. He's worked himself all the way back to 3rd to the outside of Aaron Matthews.
Yeah. So The other thing I want to point out too is Nick King right there. He was involved in an earlier accident, and he's now up 26 spots to that number 2 spot. You know, and he's trying everything he can to hold off, you know, Darren Mullins or Kyle Holden, Darren Mullins, and pretty much the rest of the field. And these guys are trying to get single filed. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, John, you're going to start seeing drivers move up the racetrack. King and Mullins, and even Randy Mullins, I think the figures back.
Further back in the field, in the 14th place, Johnny Shea, Jared Clark, as well as Tim Wortman Jr. These guys are battling for the 16th, 17th position. What's really fun about this racing league right here, 40 cars, there's always going to be a battle on track. Chris Spear in 8th is now your biggest mover. He's up 30 positions in the number 7 Chevrolet, surrounded by Fords. Him and Warren Young are both surrounded by the Ford Kyle Holden, Aaron Matthews, Chad Sullivan. Holden's dropped back about 4 spots. We just saw him in 2nd. Now he's running 6th. That might have a little to do with the resurgence of Nick King, Randy Mullins, and Darren Mullins, who's also up to 4th. Little things at a track like Las Vegas can cost you 4 to 5 positions. It's a very, very momentum-based racing surface. You mess up one corner, it takes about a lap to get your momentum back up to stop going backwards in the field right here. Further in the field, Kane Lee in number 91. Ford Mustang currently running 25th. It's single file back here, 20th on back. Drivers trying to take whatever they can when they get it. Most of these machines are damaged from the earlier cautions, and we're halfway now. Halfway here at Las Vegas, an hour and 10 minutes into this event.
Man. And in the first stage was, you know, filled with caution. So John, there's 11 Toyotas in the field. And out of, you know, 11 Toyotas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 13 bow tie. A few.
So 102, so looking at lots of side-by-side action. The tune has not changed. These guys are going to stay side-by-side for the remainder of this race. They're not going to really get separated. I'm not totally surprised by that with 40 cars out here. But that really shows how tight the competition here is for the Moonshiners Cup Series. It's very tight competition. The guys are separated speed-wise by a couple tenths throughout the whole field when this race started. So nobody's really able to get away from one or the other. Alan, we can't hear you, man. I don't know what's going on with your equipment over there, buddy. I'm sorry about that. I hope you can get it sorted out. I'll just do the best that I can for this one. Up front, Nick King side by side with the 54. Randy Mullins, that's battle for 2nd. King just taking a damaged race car, you know, and getting everything he can out of that, because he definitely didn't come out of the earlier trouble unscathed. But yet here he is in P2. It's going to slide in front of Randy Mullins and Ed Boyles Jr. Kyle Holden looking to the outside of the 64. Now is going to dive low, follow him around turn number 3 in the P6 position. A little further back, Warren Young trying to hold down 10th. You see the 11th of Paul Gallimore looking to make the pass on the 21 of Chad Sullivan. So lap 105 of 295 laps to go, less than 150 miles in this one. These guys are starting to figure out how these machines work. Haven't seen as many people battling a looseness out of the corner. Throttle control is coming around for these guys, and it's starting to keep these guys together. I'm going to come back here. Let's go through our lapped cars. Chris James, Blaine Woodruff, Alex Coffey, we saw him stage 1 winner. He's in 32nd now, 22 spots down from where he started. He is 35th in that 15 Toyota. Blaine Wilson's on pit road. Shane Davis as well. Kendall Leveron, Matt Mackin. Multiple drivers caught up in incidents that they didn't want to be a part of. And it really is a war of attrition when you have a field this large. Things are going to happen. You have to be consistently on the racing surface. You have to look for any type of problem that could arise. You see a little bit of smoke right there. Got two loose machines. The 84 was loose. Got a car in the wall. I'm not certain who that was. I think it might have been Ed Boyles Jr. And then, yes, it was Ed Boyles Jr. And he's falling back momentum based, as I mentioned. Hoping we get Alan back here in a couple moments. Just, again, not really sure what's happening with his equipment over there. Might be some weather in his environment, but I couldn't say for certain. So starting to see the first single file racing that we've seen all night long. The top 10 are single file. There's a battle for 11th. Got some lapped cars on the inside. And for the most part, we're now single file racing around Las Vegas. Folks, you guys that are a part of this show this evening, I really want to thank you guys for being here and enjoying your evening with the SRM crew. Again, my name's Jonathan Leach. I'm filling in for Michael DeMoney tonight. We swapped shows to see how the production could be put on here. So we knew that he had some struggles as far as drawing all the cars. It looks like that was a hardware issue, not an internet issue, because I'm not having any problem showing the machines. So looking forward to him being back for you guys next Wednesday with new and improved equipment. And this show should go on much better. I want to thank Alan Bergen for joining me tonight. Again, I'm not sure what kind of struggles are causing his mic to have trouble, but we're going to keep working on this one as we're single file right now on lap 111 of 200. And we're going to keep on trucking. So we got 89 laps remaining, single file. We're going to take a brief moment to step away. Kenny Capola, who's been up front, either in first or second all night, out front over Randy Mullins by 1.5 seconds. We'll be right back. Rejoining the race as Kenny Capola still out front. Kyle Holden has taken over P2 once again. Here with 82 laps remaining, Kyle Holden holding on to second narrowly over Aaron Matthews and Randy Mullins. A little bit further back in the field, Warren Young and Ryan Huff can't seem to get separated for 6th place, as well as a battle between Darren Mullins and Paul Gallimore for 8th. Tonight's current biggest mover, Chad Sullivan's running in the 5th place position in the Ford Mustang. And tonight's fastest lap at this point in the event is still a 29.85, which is ran by Kendall Levron, who is out of the race due to an earlier caution. Once again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight for the Moonshiners Cup Series, brought to you by Ram Welding and Fabrication. I want to thank those guys for putting on this 300-mile race tonight. It's Wednesday, March 6th, 2024. Some of us never thought we would get this far, but here we are. Single file racing. So a race that was largely side-by-side, 3-wide action early is now a single file event, aside from a couple battles here and there. Look at a great recovery for Derek Pemberton, driver number 82 machine. He was up front, got involved in a caution, has worked his way back to 13th. You know, good drivers always find a way. It's worth mentioning, right behind them, you've got Chris Davis, Hunter Carmichael. Now they're back to single file. The single file racing for the most part. Up front, there's a couple guys that are in close proximity to each other, but other than that, we're just spread out and we're logging laps. Last pit stops were on lap 87, so it's not quite time for pit stops just yet. We've got about 35 laps on the tires and on this fuel run. I imagine somewhere at around maybe lap 150, we might start to see some drivers come down pit road. Fans, if you guys have any questions you would like to ask our drivers under the next potential caution or next interview, please let us know. We appreciate you being here with us tonight. Still following the battle between Hunter Carmichael and Ed Boyles. Nick King has fallen back to 17th. I think he ended up having some more trouble while we stepped away. It looks like his car is a handful. We're going to go on board with him. On the inside of him right there, you got the number 38, Ed Boyles Jr., and he's going to end up yielding that position. You can hear those tires aggressively scrubbing as he's into turn number 1. Really working that car. Right there is going to be some trouble. Going to avoid what could have been a costly error. Ed Boyles Jr. didn't realize that 24 was right there. They're going to bounce off of each other. They're going to live to fight another day with 75 laps remaining. Nick King trying to advance his position a little bit here, but just struggling to do so. As you got the 3, the 38, and the 17, the 33 all on the line. John Binder, of course, driving the number 33. Currently, the highest Toyota is our race leader, Kenny Capola. The next highest Toyota is Darren Mills in the 12th place position. Handful of Toyotas back in 20th, 22nd, 23rd, locked in a gridlock right here between Johnny Shade, Stephen Gibson, and Caden Norfray. Heard a little bit of contact between those drivers back there in the back. Something it's worth talking about, Las Vegas Motor Speedway real quick. It's a 1.52 mile racetrack. That track temperature is at 100 degrees right now. It's about 2,000 feet above sea level. It's a D-shaped oval. You can see it right here on the screen. Of course, it's in Las Vegas. It's 85 degrees outside. A little bit dusty right there, as you can see as we went down the backstretch. Something neat and new that iRacing is starting to incorporate is air conditions in these tracks, and they're supposed to. The last update was a rain update. I'm not sure. From what I've gathered, it hasn't gone quite as well as we were hoping and expecting. And of course, not all racing surfaces and cars have that rain modification. Back up front, Kenny Coppola, 1.6 seconds over P2 holder Kyle Holden, Aaron Matthews, Sullivan, Randy Mullins. That's going to round out your top 5. We saw several drivers involved in trouble early. Alex Coffey, Stage 1 winner, Blaine Woodruff, Chris James, Jeff Taylor, and a handful of others. Sean Kaltenbach was our pole sitter today. He's stuck in 20th with that damaged number 4 Mustang. He's been involved in 2 incidents, and I'm sure that's robbed that vehicle of some of the necessary speed that he needs to contend for this one. Barry Sanders, another driver on the recovery train in that 88 Ford Mustang. He was back as far as 27th earlier in the race. He's recovered nicely. He's working on trying to hold on to 11 as Darren Mills is looking to make a move on his run to the top 10. You can see Barry Sanders is running a button boxes paint scheme. I didn't quite get what company that is for his button boxes. Hopefully that'll become more clear as this race goes on. Right behind him, you get the number 2. That's Darren Mills. Chris Davis is there. Those 2 drivers are closing in on Darren Mullins and Paul Gallimore just in front of them. So depending how they catch them could really determine how that's going to shape up. Lap 131 of 200 pit stops are approaching. I expect that window to open somewhere around lap 140. Could be as late as 150. I don't expect it to be any longer than 150, however. Kyle Holden not able to pick up the pace at all. He's maintaining that gap about 1.7 seconds behind Kenny Coppola. Was a 10th faster last lap, but this lap seems to be a little bit slower. We'll know when he comes around for timing and scoring purposes. This time around, no, they were pretty even. I thought he was a touch slower. Pretty even. That gap is maintaining. Drivers that just can't seem to get apart from each other. Hunter Carmichael, Nigel Christensen, Johnny Shade, and Steven Gibson. These guys have been together around the 20th position all night long. Can't seem to get away from each other. Got a little bit of contact right here. Still some looseness between the 3 and the 17. That's the Hunter Carmichael Ford and the number 17 Nigel Christensen Toyota. Contact. That was an accident. These guys just held on to it. Gaps lessened by about a 1/10 of a second. Kyle Holden to Kenny Coppola. A little bit faster the last 3 times by. Kenny Coppola, he could just be maintaining the gap, or perhaps his tires are starting to wear out. And what a nice monster paint scheme Kenny Coppola has in that Toyota this evening. Special shout out to all of our friends, family members, wives, and children for letting the drivers enjoy these epic evenings of racing. Folks, you might think this is a video game, but it's truly the farthest thing from it. These guys are true competitors. They practice. Things get intense. And when you win, you feel it. It's like winning, it's like winning a real race, winning that football game, winning that golf tournament against your buddies. There really is an adrenaline rush when you're racing these machines. And you can get immersed in these things. And when you're doing 180 miles per hour surrounded by 2 cars on each side, your heart gets going and the adrenaline is there. You don't want to be the guy that makes a wiggle that causes a wreck. You're afraid that they might touch you and ruin your position, all while you have to have the aggressiveness to make the right move to increase your position. So at the end of the day, you can emerge victorious. This is the real deal, folks. Wives and children, if you're watching these guys, I'm telling you, they're thankful and appreciate you for letting them do this. And family members that cheer on your folks, they love it. keep showing up in numbers. They really do appreciate it. This is their time to shine. We're approaching lap 138 for Kenny Capola. Getting ever closer to that pit window that I think must be coming. The gap to second, Kyle Holden's closed it now to almost 1 1/10 of a second. So Kyle Holden, the number 59 machine, he's coming. He's coming for that lead. Now, but we don't know, has he found speed, or is this a worn tires thing? Is he just better than Kenny Capola on the long run? And so when they get fresh tires and the shorter run is coming, is Capola going to be able to pull away? Will one of these drivers make a green flag pit stop mistake? It's bound to happen. We got a car down low. That's number 15 machine, Alex Coffey. He's a lapped machine, but looked like he was coming down pit road, but I think he was just trying to stay out of the way. Chris Spear is on pit road, repairing damage on that number 7 machine. Kyle Holden's got the gap down to 1 second. Fourth place is separated by 0.2 of a second. Warren Young, Darren Mills, and the 93 of Ryan Huff and Darren Mullins all together in a gaggle. 5 cars looking for 8th. We were spread out a little bit ago. Now we've got 5 cars. Make that 6 cars all within a quarter second of each other. We might just see 3 wide in a second. I think Darren Mills is chewing on the idea. As well as that number 29, the 93 of Ryan Huff. Ryan Huff looking to make it 3 wide. Will he do so? He will not. The 29, Chris Davis, right on top of him. This is the 2 wide racing that we were looking for as we're coming to pit stops. I'm curious to know who's it going to be that's going to make the first stop. Ideally, you probably don't want to do more than 50 laps on your fresh tires. But these cars are a handful now. We're going to go on board with Ryan Huff. The lap 143, Chad Sullivan's largest mover, up 29 positions. Move him up to 3rd. The gap first to second now under a second. Under 0.7 of a second. Kyle Holden was 0.2 of a second faster than Capola last time by. That driver is on a move. He is trying to get to the lead, and nothing's going to hold him back. It's worth noting that Sullivan right behind him is faster than the both of them, though. They're approaching some lap traffic. The traffic's going to stay high. Capola is within his grasp. Pit stops begin with Paul Gallimore, Tim Wortman, Warren Young, John Binder. How long will the leaders stay out as pit stops are underway on lap 144 of 200? Don't make a mistake now. It'll ruin your race. You won't be able to recover with only 60 laps. Here comes Kenny Capola down pit road. He saw the writing on the wall. Kyle Holden was coming. He's going to cut his losses and come down pit road this time. Short pitting. If I'm Kyle Holden and Sullivan, I need to come by this time. Down the backstretch for Kyle Holden, our new race leader. Sullivan looking to the inside. Is one of them or both of them coming down pit road? No, both drivers are going to stay out. How long is the question? Capola and that coveted number 2 pit stall. Randy Mullins just behind him. Here comes Capola off pit road. Mullins still on pit road, exiting at this time. Here comes Darren Mills and that number 2 Ride Home Rants machine. I think that says Ride Home. Can't get a very good look at it. So Kyle Holden coming down pit road, following by Chad Sullivan. I think they both made that pit road speed. I think it's 50. It was close. The 2 leaders down pit road. Nick King out on track, sitting in the 4th place position. It's a driver who had trouble earlier and has managed to recover nicely, looking to possibly take over the lead in just a moment. Aaron Matthews now down pit road. That's going to cycle Nick King to the lead. You got to think that Nick King is giving up a lot of track position while he does this. The question is how long is he going to stay out? Now, is he going to ride this out, and does he have 15 or 20 more laps worth of fuel that he can stay out here? Or is he going to come by in the next few laps? Because the longer he stays out, he's given up a ton of time to drivers like Kenny Capola, who are running 2 seconds faster per lap. That's notable. That's a lot of track position that he's going to give up. So I'm going to thank everybody for being here tonight, as here comes Nick King. Sees the writing on the wall. Can't stay out any longer. He's going to give the race lead over to Ryan Huff and Jared Clark. The same thing can be said for those guys. How long will they stay out there? Kenny Capola has a 1.7 second lead over Chad Sullivan, and a near 2 second lead over Kyle Holden. So when things cycle around, Kenny Capola will be your race leader. Chad Sullivan's P2, Kyle Holden's 3rd. 4th is Randy Mullins, and 5th will be Aaron Matthews. Nick King enters his pit stall. Looks like it was pretty smooth. Waiting to drop 15.28 seconds for the driver of the number 24. He's dropping all the way back to 18th, 19th, 20th. Perhaps even further as Stephen Gibson, Johnny Shade, Derek Pemberton come around. Nick King's lost a lot of time waiting until lap 148 to pit. He stayed out there 4 laps. He's going to lose about 10 to 15 seconds on his previous position. Ryan Huff, Jared Clark. Jared Clark in the wall coming on the pit road. Looks like the car's going to be okay, but big contact on the inside lane right there. It's going to enter his pit box. Might have to stay in for a second to repair that. 93 of Ryan Huff's going to slide into his pit box. No problem right there. Right side's about to go up. There it goes. As well as Kane Lee, the number 91, in the pit box. Right side's going up. Coming out is Jared Clark after that contact. He did not opt to repair the vehicle. Just going to get going. Here's Nick King on fresh tires going around the number 22. Kenny Capola starting to step away now from 2nd and 3rd. So Kyle Holden had the speed on the long runs. So did Chad Sullivan. But on the short runs, Kenny Capola gets it done. And for Capola, he only needs to have this speed for 48 more laps and hold these guys behind him, and he's really starting to step away now from 3rd. Race leader 22, Dean Motley, going to come down pit road. We saw Nick King pass him just a second ago. Capola is going to retake over the lead. And Chad Sullivan is P2. P3 belongs to Kyle Holden. Let's take a second, talk about the point situation. Alex Coffey came into this race as the points leader, won stage 1, but now is sitting 34th out of 40 due to trouble. You don't see a Kenny Capola on the list. You do see Randy Mullins. You also see Chad Sullivan with 42 points. So far, this is shaping up to be a really good night for Kenny Capola. So the field quite a bit spread out now. First to the last driver on the lead lap is a 26-second spread. The guy in the catbird seat waiting not to be or hoping to stay out front is Caden Norfree. He's got about 4 seconds to Kenny Capola, who's looking to make him a lap down. When he goes a lap down, that will only leave 20 drivers on the lead lap. We're going to step away for a brief moment. This will be the last time we do so, and then I'll be right back to call the epic finale of this one from Las Vegas. Thanks for being a part of the night, everybody. My name is Jonathan Leach. I will be back in a moment. Welcome back, folks. Lap 162 of 200 for the Moonshiners Cup Series. Kenny Capola still out front over Chad Sullivan by 3 seconds and Kyle Holden by 3.2 seconds. Joining in the booth now, he flew over in his very own private citation, is Mike DeMoney. He's back from another show. Mike, thanks for joining us for the final 40 laps of this one. We know this is your series. You know them better than I do. Vegas has been a fun race so far. The update has kind of wreaked havoc on these next-gen machines. They're super loose, and until now, these guys were very close together. This gaggle right here that you're going to see was the entire field, and now it's really a pocket of guys here and there, but the racing looked like this for 40 cars to begin with. But anyhow, Mike, floor is yours. Tell us about the Moonshiners Cup Series.
Yeah, definitely. We got quite the action going on. Kenny Capola looking to go back-to-back here in Las Vegas. I don't know if John told you that, but he didn't have a good week last week. Got wrecked out early. Didn't really have a good Daytona either, but looks like he is taken to the desert here at Vegas and is putting on a show from what I've witnessed the last few laps. Chad Sullivan won back at Daytona. Didn't have a good week last week, but is bouncing back as well. I mean, Randy Mullins has won a few stages here and there as well. So, I mean, he's kind of putting on a show. These long green flag pit stops kind of get everybody to cycle through. You figure out where they're going to be, and then you get a little spread out. So, definitely looking forward to these last 35 laps here. How has the overall racing been towards the end here, John?
So, up until the last, say, 30 laps, it was very close racing. Green flag pit stops helped spread things out even further than what they were. But at around lap 110, everything kind of single filed out and drivers were starting to step away from each other. I believe that the looseness of the machines and the unfamiliarity of how this recent update kind of kept drivers together. I want to turn our attention back to Coppola for a second. He has only been out of the top 2 for pit stops all night. Only for pit stops.
Sounds about right. Sounds like he did last year as well. He led 99 laps, so definitely kind of picked his favorite track here, and he's making a statement tonight.
I'm comfortable saying that he is somewhere close to leading 99 laps at this point. A couple drivers that were perhaps a little faster than him earlier was Alex Coffey. He's in 33 now. He's on or 33rd now. He's on track in that 15 Toyota, but just got caught up in some unfortunate stuff. Sean Kaltenbach was our pole sitter, very fast. It seemed like he was a step quicker than Coppola. Got involved in a couple incidents. And, that just kind of moves guys to the back. Blaine Wilson, another one. Kendall Levron, another driver with a lot of speed. They weren't able to survive some trouble. Kenny Coppola avoided it because he was just in front of it. Both incidents that were up front, he was one car in front of them. And it's kept him out of harm's way. And now he's starting to step away from the other 2 drivers in the top 3. It's worth noting towards the end of the last run that both Sullivan and Holden were starting to make up ground on Coppola. But I would assume Coppola has made an adjustment to his driving style, and that's why he is stepping away. And even if they are better long-run drivers, I don't think there's enough time left for them to catch them.
Yeah, no, you got 30 laps and a little over a 3-second lead there. So definitely going to be a tall ask for Sullivan or Holden to do that, but we've seen it happen before. These guys are very talented drivers. We also, when you were talking about our pole setter, the number 4 there, he was a sub driver for Jordan Schmitz tonight. So, I mean, show up, put the baby on the pole, and looks like he's having a pretty good race, running in the top 15 right now as well.
And you know what? And that's weird to say because when you think about top 15, usually these fields are 20 cars. So top 15 is not really great. But when there's 40 cars that start the race, top 15 week in, week out to get you in the playoffs. So I'm just really impressed that there's 40 machines here on Las Vegas. And there haven't been many issues. A few cautions here and there. Nothing egregious. That's not how you say that word. But nothing insane has really happened. Looseness is battled, but they've sort of figured it out. It's worth noting the track temperature is 100 degrees out here, so a loose car is going to... an already loose car is going to be worse on a track like this. But, just a really great race. I've been glad to be a part of it this evening, as we got about 28 remaining as you're watching Caden Norfree in the number 20 Toyota to the inside of the number 7. That's not for position, as Chris Spear is in 34th. He's just making a pass on a lapped car.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about these drivers. Usually when they come up on some lap traffic, they kind of move up, get out of the way, let the lead lap cars take the position. As it looks like the 24 there of Nick King making his way around a couple lap guys as well there.
So I want to talk about Nick King for a second, the driver number 24. Another driver with a lot of speed. He was a top 5 machine. Got loosed, got turned, drove all the way from the back to second, and then made a questionable pit strategy. He pitted last out of everybody on the green flag cycle, and it cost him about 10 positions. He was losing about 2 seconds a lap to everybody else. And unfortunately, I don't think his tires are going to allow him to recover. And you've got Derek Pemberton, who's just right behind him on some older tires by a few laps with a head of speed. And Nick King is just going backwards. So it's a driver that maybe he's picked up a little damage and made a bad call, and it's going to cost him a top 5 finish. But again, he's in the top 15, which is in the top half of the field, and that's nothing to hang your head about when 16 drivers make the playoffs at the towards the end of the season, which is quite a ways away, I might add. But every point does matter.
Yeah, there's plenty of time, especially when you're talking about the Moonshiners Racing League here, because you have 2 stages you can get points for. I mean, there's tons of bonus points out there, and sometimes with these big series, bonus points are what makes the difference in making the playoffs and not. So try and get every point you can, minimize the damage, and then try and bounce back the next week. And, I mean, right now, you wouldn't be thinking it, but even our race leader, Kenny Coppola, had 2 bad weeks and is outside the top, 15 or so in drivers. So anything can happen here. It's still a long season. Alex Coffey has had a bad week right now, but he was racing up front.
Yeah,
towards the end last race.
Well, I want to say he's our points leader coming into the race. He won stage 1, had trouble with a lapped car. Looks like a family member wanted to make sure I didn't forget to mention that. He was coming up to the inside of a lapped car, and they kind of bounced off of each other, and it looked like it was a netcode incident, and that was, probably around lap 60 or 70 or so. It was shortly after he won stage 1. He's been trucking and trying to keep that car out there. I think he's the first car off the lead lap. I'm wrong. He is 33rd. He's 5 laps behind Blaine Woodruff, so he can't advance his position unless there's trouble with other drivers. Jeff Taylor's on pit road, though, and he's only got 8 laps behind him, so he might be able to pick up another position. But, things can just happen. It's a war of attrition when you have fields this large.
Yeah, definitely. It's the size of the field, and, everybody's going to have issues at some point in time throughout the season, especially when 40 cars show up week in and week out. You just got to, like I said, minimize the damage, control what you can, and move forward. I mean, last week's winner was able to get his first win in this series, and now he is running P7, Paul Gallimore there. So he was kind of sitting back in third, making his way through the race, and just got a lucky push there at the end and was able to bring home the checkered flag there. But, anything is possible, especially here.
So it's worth noting that maybe that gremlin of the long flag run is coming back to get Kenny Coppola. Chad Sullivan's cut that gap by a second, and now it's only 2 seconds, 2 7/10 of a second he's got to Kenny Coppola. That's quite the distance to make up, but he's 2/10 of a lap faster. Quick math says last lap he might catch him, but that's assuming that it stays 2/10 of a second. And that's not usually how this thing goes when you're catching a driver. Usually you pick up speed on them and you start catching them quicker and quicker and quicker. So this is worth keeping an eye on as Chad Sullivan's trying to chase down Kenny Coppola. Let's go back over here towards Tim Wortman Jr., Paul Gallimore. This is the battle for 6. You got Chris Davis there as well. And a little bit further back, you've got a battle for 16th and 17th. And we'll go back to check that here in just a minute as Gallimore is thinking about making a move to the inside of Tim Wortman Jr. for 6th.
And both these drivers were running pretty well towards the end of the last race. Tim Wortman Jr. had the bottom line, got a little caught up in an incident, and wound up going back through the field a little ways, and Gallimore was able to avoid it and went towards the front. Chris Davis won the duels at Daytona. Hasn't been able to really take that win and capitalize on it in the regular season here, but did get some points for that as well. So all these drivers moving in the right direction as we move back to Derek Pemberton and Sean Caden back.
So this right here is going to show the story of this race, Mike. These guys were battling as far back as 26, 27, 30th even in the beginning of the race. And you're seeing that right here. Ed Boyles Jr., Ryan Huff, just in front of them is that 21 machine, which is a lapped car. But these guys, they work for position each and every lap. You know, and that's what made this race exciting. And really is probably what kept the cars together so long in this race. As you got Ryan Huff to the inside of Ed Boyles Jr. and through turn 3 and 4. Is he going to be able to slide up in front of him? It's not going to make it work, as Ed Boyles Jr. has got a little bit more momentum on the high side. Is going to stay clear. But these guys, they just kind of stay with each other. You know, and I want to talk about Matt Cox's recovery for him. He was involved in some trouble early, and you can see some damage to the front end of that car. And he's recovered to 23rd. You know, and that's really how you get into these championship hunts, is to keep going. With 15 laps remaining, it might be worth looking forward to next week here in this series. Next week, it's going to be at Phoenix. It'll be March 13th. There's going to be 3 stages, lap 45, 90, and 200. It's going to be a 200-mile race. And then after that, you're going to have Bristol for 300 miles. Golly. Actually, 300 laps. It's going to be 300 laps at Bristol. And then the COTA 250. It'll be 46 laps at COTA. So you got 3 very distinct different racing styles of racing over the next 3 weeks for the Moonshiners Cup Series. You're not going to want to miss that as these weeks go on.
Yeah, that's definitely something the drivers are looking forward to. Talked to them after last week's race, and almost all the drivers agreed that they were done with the super speedway style tracks as they come here to Las Vegas after being at Atlanta and Daytona for a couple weeks there. So they're definitely putting on a show here in the desert.
Desert this week, desert next week. Go across to the other side of the country and then back to COTA, South Texas. I believe it is. Austin area.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the front. 12 laps to go. The gap is now under 2 seconds. It's also fitting to note that Chad Sullivan's our biggest mover. Up 30 positions since the start of this one. 1.75 seconds is the gap. Sullivan was 0.3 faster than Coppola last time around. If he keeps that gap, he's going to get there.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get there if that gap stays the same. And then you can see in front of Kenny here that he is coming.
Lost Derek Pemberton for a second to a connection issue. Glad to see that that vehicle stayed on track. It's always a terrible feeling when you're driving and all of a sudden all the cars around you disappear. And if you're a driver near them and you see a car disappear, you wonder where he is, because you may not see him, but the iRacing
Coppola into the wall.
That's going to help that gap for Sullivan decrease even further down to under 1.25 seconds. This has got to be a terrible feeling for Kenny Coppola. He's been the guy all night long, and you just know that gap's ever decreasing. You know, this... And guys, the thing about these virtual races, and I told you earlier how these drivers are really competitive and how this is real competition, but the problem is here, he can see that gap close with timing and scoring that's available to him. You can see Chad Sullivan slowly catching him, and the closer that gap gets, the more you try to drive that car harder. And the more you do that, the more you tend to scrub off the tires. But you also just got to think about his heart sinking, because at this point, he knows he's going to get caught, and he's probably going to get caught with about 2 or 3 laps to go.
Yeah, the best thing for Coppola to do here is to get by Steven Gibson there, to get that lap car between himself and Sullivan. Maybe Gibson can kind of play a little roadblock there, as that gap is still closing. Looks like Sullivan's getting about 0.2 per lap at least. So definitely something that Capola's watching in his rearview mirror here.
Yeah, it was 3/10 a lap that time around. It's worth noting, getting to somebody's different than passing them. But with the 3/10 difference, I don't think Sullivan's going to have much of a problem. It's going to be a heartbreaker for Kenny Capola, who's been in the top 2 all night. And he's going to end up moving back to second. Assuming nothing weird is about to happen. Sullivan's here, though, folks. Remember how we told you it wasn't going to be, just a 10th a lap. Eventually that was going to change. As Sullivan's looking to the inside of Capola right now. This is battle for the race lead. Use that lapped car as a pick. Sullivan's going to have no problem getting around turn number 3.
I was going to say, you saw Gibson kind of move up. Capola just staying there. Sullivan down to the inside. Going to keep it low as they head towards the start-finish line. And Sullivan for the lead. He's going to lead this lap. And Capola can just wave as he goes by.
And not much Capola can do. I thought he was about to be in the wall right there. Hanging on all right on the high side, but I think it's inevitable here that this pass is going to be completed. Move Sullivan to the front. Capola's going to bounce off the wall to the all the way down to the inner white line. Is going to lose about 0.5 of a second right there to Sullivan. And if I'm him, I'm just going to settle down and try to ride out the last 5 laps of this one. Tim Wortman Jr., Chris Davis, these guys are 18 seconds behind the leader, locked in a battle for 7th. And a little further back, you got another tight battle for 14th. Mills, Pemberton, Kaltenbach, those guys, 3 drivers. They can't seem to get away from each other with 4 laps to go.
Yeah, you see those guys kind of get close to each other, try and push each other just a little bit. You kind of see as the field spreads out, the drivers with about the same speed in their cars work together or just seem to find each other. Pemberton going backwards here. Looks like Blaine Woodruff trying to stay out of the way in that damaged 71 there.
So Sullivan stepping away almost a second now over Kenny Capola. The battles are in other places. And Mullins, wow, that's 24 seconds. 10th is 24 seconds back from first. Warren Young trying to keep Barry Sanders behind him for 11th. Sanders 1 second back behind him. And we go back to this battle for 14th. This is going to be the most entertaining one, I think, between Mills and Kaltenbach and possibly Pemberton. And you can go back here as well to Matt Cox and Jared Clark. This is for 23rd. In front of them, they have Kane Lee, but they're not going to catch him. So a couple battles to be sorted here as Sullivan's trying to sell off into the sunset, getting by that lapped machine. There it is. The white flag is in the air. Next flag's really going to end the race. Capola just trying to hang on. The P2 can't hold his head low for this event. Dominant car is just unfortunately not going to walk away with the victory. As Sullivan in through 3 and 4. It's coming out of turn number 4 with a 2.10 second lead over Capola. Chased him down the last run. Chad Sullivan's going to be victorious here in Las Vegas, Sin City. Rolls the dice. Not really. But he rolls the dice and he comes home victorious. Capola going to be upset that he missed out on this one. But we're still racing back to the line right here. Tim Wortman Jr., Chris Davis. Davis looking to make a move. I don't think he has the opportunity. Sanders and King. King to the inside out of turn number 4. King with the momentum. It's going to just get by Barry Sanders. Just behind there, Darren Mills, Sean Kaltenbach. And I think that's going to be our race. Race time just over 2 hours and 4 minutes. Everybody's going to congratulate Chad Sullivan for the win. Aaron Matthews in the 5. Give him a bump.
Yeah, Chad Sullivan was able to run down Kenny Capola there, but Kenny had a little bit of a rough time there towards the end of the race. But Chad Sullivan winning 2 out of 3 races here.
2 of 3. It's not bad odds right here. We're going to give it a couple moments. We're going to let them burn it down. We'll get the point standings updated minus bonus points. And and show you what things are going to sort of look like into next week. And at the beginning of next week, the bonus points will be sorted out, and we'll be able to tell you what things look like as far as after this week for bonus points. Sullivan burning it down. I like how those tire marks just kind of randomly appeared right there. Let's see. Mike, if you don't mind, while working on standings, be a great time to dial up race winner.
Hey, Chad, Mike up in the booth, man. How's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh, not too bad. Well, heck of a run there from that 21 Ford.
Yes, sir. That's Hurt Locker, Reaper Speed Labs, and Raging Cajun Bail Bonds and Bad Boy Racing. Man, it was fun. It was good stuff.
Yeah, Chad, you were able to run down Kenny there at the end. How are you able to do that?
Managed the tires. A good long run car. Weather wasn't sure it was going to be with the changes that were made with the update today, and I don't know how much affected what we did. But it was I was good on the long run. I could push the car early like that, and I did it in the first run, and it didn't pan out. So I went back to, I'm just going to wrap the bottom and let the car come to me, and only take what the car gives me.
Definitely, man. So we close out Las Vegas here. It looks like you win 2 out of 3 here. How are you looking for the rest of the season when you head to Phoenix next week and then Bristol?
I just want to be consistent. Last year I missed a lot of races, and this year I'd like to make a big splash and keep this sucker up front all year long.
Definitely look like you have done that. Minus the last week at Atlanta, you had a pretty good showing here tonight. Anybody want to thank before we get you out of here tonight?
Yeah, I thank Barry, man, for putting all this on. He puts a lot of effort into it, and my team, Bad Boy Racing, we get together and practice quite a bit. It's a good little group, and that's what makes it fun. That right there, and all the sponsors, Reaper Speed Labs, the Hurt Locker, Raging Cajun Bail Bonds. It's a lot of fun, and thank you guys in the booth.
Definitely, man. Well, congrats once again on your race win, and look forward to talking to you maybe next week.
And one more thing, congrats to Kenny, man. He's one hell of a dude, man.
Definitely, man. All right, let's see if we can dial up P2 here. Hey, Kenny, Mike up in the booth, man. How's it going?
It's going.
Definitely, man. It looked like you had the ride to beat there in that 77 Toyota. Just maybe came out a little too fast there after the last pit stop, kind of wore off your tires maybe a little bit, and kind of were sitting duck there for Chad for the last few laps.
Yeah, Chad's a really good driver, man. Long runs, he's a hard guy to beat, and he just takes care of his tires so well. And I burned him up pretty good the first couple laps. I wanted to get a jump on those guys and try to get like a 5-second lead coming out of the pit cycle, and it just didn't end up happening. And I tried to back it down a little bit, and the car's just overall too tight. After 35-40 laps, the front end just quit turning, and just couldn't really make the speed I needed to win tonight.
Yeah, definitely looked like you were running pretty well up there. As you get a pretty good result here after the last couple weeks, how do you feel moving forward to Phoenix and then Bristol and Coda there?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. These are probably a stretch for some of my better tracks, the more technical ones, especially road courses. And I'm looking forward to the next 4 or 5 weeks for sure.
Definitely, man. Anybody else you want to thank before we get you out of here tonight?
Yeah, just all my teammates at Beast Mode Performance, Boomer Button Boxes, Scott Martin with Martin Sports, Team Watson Racing again. You guys for putting the broadcast on. Want to thank Barry for putting the league on. Really looking forward to it. Everybody's pretty respectful out there. We run some good green flag races, and lastly, just want to thank my wife for letting me race every Wednesday.
Definitely, Matt. Well, congrats on your P2 finish, and look forward to talking to you maybe later this season.
Appreciate it, fellas.
All right, that was P2. Let's see if we can get Kyle up here in the booth.
Kyle had quite the fan base cheering him on for this evening, Mike.
Yeah, Kyle has quite the following there. Hey, Kyle, how is it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Got a nice finish there at the end. Pretty happy with tonight.
Yeah, definitely looked like you battled back. Didn't look like you quite had enough speed there at the end of the race to catch Kenny or Chad, but still came out with a top 3 finish. How is it racing out there in these next gen cars in the seat?
With this new update and not updated sets, it's kind of it was a little pretty tight out there, especially with how hot it was today. But if you kind of just stayed off throttle, you were still able to make the bottom and save enough. But at the end there, I just ended up not saving properly. Couldn't get a good run through the corners, and just kind of burned my stuff up at the end trying to stay behind Chad. Good run for Chad and Kenny there. I know he built this set, and even after the update, it's still wicked fast. So go check him out in Team Watson. But good race by everybody. Can't believe we actually got green flag pits in there.
Yeah, it definitely was. The last half of the race was pretty entertaining from what I could see. But we put Vegas in the rearview mirror. How do you feel as we head towards Phoenix next week?
I definitely like Phoenix. It's a good track for me. It's definitely also one of the Champion 4 tracks, so should have some pretty good speed there. Hopefully Kenny has a pretty good set for us, I think. So we're gonna go do what we can next week. Put on a show for you.
Definitely, man. Well, anybody else you want to thank before we get you out of here tonight?
Just huge thanks to Barry for putting on the league. Bad Boy Racing. I think nice win for Chad there. Huge thanks to Kenny for always making these great setups for us. Team Watson Racing, everyone over there. Go check them out. And huge thanks to you guys for putting on this broadcast for us.
Definitely, man. Well, congrats once again on your P3 finish, and we'll talk to you maybe next week.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Excuse me. Well, it's a quick race here. Mike, thanks for... I guess it wasn't a quick race. It felt like a quick race because there was always a ton of action. I want to thank you for making the short trip over to finish this event with me. I know this is your series, so it's kind of nice to be a part of the end of it. We had 40 drivers start the race, and we had 30 of them finish 190 laps or more. And a couple guys really worked at to stay out there. Hunter Carmichael did 142 laps, finished 35th. Alex Kofi brings it home 32nd. So what's really neat about this league is these guys are trying to stay out there, put on a show that their fans and friends deserve. So the last thing there is to do, it's time to go over tonight's race results, as I'm trying to get those posted on screen here in just 1 second. A little bit of trouble for some oddball reason. They're not wanting to post. Well, unfortunately, it's not. For some reason, our software is not allowing us to post the results on screen. So in other words, we're just going to go through the field. Chad Sullivan, we see him chase down Kenny Coppola, finishing 31 spots over where he started. P1. Congratulations, Chad Sullivan. Oh, so close for Kenny Capola. He finishes in the top 2. He stayed in the top 2 all night long, aside from pit stops, and loses the lead with 6 to go. Kyle Holden, a lot of fan following, great finishes. Finishes P3, as low as 22nd, I believe, as high as 2nd. Randy Mullins is 4th. 5th is Aaron Matthews. 6th and 7th, Paul Gallimore and Tim Mortman Jr. 8th, 9th, and 10th is Chris Davis, John Binder, Darren Mullins. Nick King recovers to 11th. Sanders is 12th. 13th, 14th, and 15th. Young, Mills, Kaltenbach. Derek Pemberton. 17th is Stephen Gibson. Ryan Huff, Caden Norfree, and the finish out the top half of the field, Ed Boyles Jr. Kane Lee is 21st. 22nd is Johnny Shade. Jared Clark, 23rd. 24th is Matt Cox. Dean Motley is 25th. Now, 25th on back is drivers who kind of wish there's more than what they would have gotten. Andrew St. Cyr, Nigel Christensen, Paul Whitney, Jameson Middlemiss, Chris James, all drivers that, wish that something more could have occurred on this one. Blaine Woodruff, Alex Coffey, especially fast Alex Coffey machine. Just trouble with a lapped machine, and it cost him ultimately. Chris Spear, Taylor, Carmichael. That's 33rd through 31st. Justin Belmont, Mike, for a long portion, he was the largest mover. Started 34th, found himself all the way up in the top 5, and war of attrition. Shane Davis, Blaine Wilson, Kendall Leveron, Matt Mackin's going to round out the field. 40 drivers started. 35 drivers finished the race. Excellent showing. Really glad to have been a part of tonight's event. And it was a really great showing. Once again, Mike, thanks for being here. I want to thank tonight's race sponsor, Ram Welding and Fabrication, for 300 miles at Sin City. They're out of Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. And Mike, any last thoughts?
No, that was a heck of a race there that they put on. Look forward to seeing what these guys can do when they take these next-gen cars to Phoenix next week.
Yeah, Phoenix is going to be a fun one. Cut the dog leg. Curious to see what this new setup's going to look like for Phoenix. Only have one more thing to say. Tony Trapasso, everybody knew him. Everybody loved the guy. Ladies and gentlemen, as you walk through life, please do not play in traffic. We'll see you next week for Moonshiners, and tomorrow night, the Racers Elite Next Gen Cup Series is going to be live at 7:30, only on SRM. We'll see you next time.